Welcome back to our third tutorial video, and this is the Worldmap first steps video. This time we are going hands-on through the very first steps that you usually want to do in any Battle Brother campaign. So to start things off, we're going to go into the town, usually a bigger town. Bigger towns have to offer more goods and services. We go to the marketplace where you can get all the general goods, and you want to get some cheap food, just to make sure that you don't run out of it. When you're hovering over this food, by the way, you can see how many provisions you're using. Now we have enough to eat for 11 days. That's more than we need. What else should we get? We should get some tools and supplies, just to make sure that we don't run out of them, and we can keep repairing our weapons. Now, the most crucial thing you want to do here is hire new men. So here is a crowd of willing fighters, or not so willing, depends. Some are forced to fight. And we want to recruit some really cheap ones in the beginning of the game. Usually they come with no recognizable equipment and also very, very bad stats. But we don't have that much money, so we cannot hire like really good and trained fighters. Now on these characters you see their background. For example, this is a detailer. And here you can read up on his story a little bit. You can see how much you have to pay him. Up front and daily. Over here is daily, and you can give him a tryout that will reveal some of his hidden character traits. We don't want to do this, we just hire them no matter what. So let's get a detailer. And in the beginning you want to make sure that you have at least 6 men in your company, because you will keep losing them, and starting out with less than 6 is usually not working out. Now let's get this guy, Arne. He's a gravedigger, but I don't mind. I need cheap fighters. And we can get the cultist. He might be a bit crazy, but we need some more fighters on the team. Let's head over here. Let's get one more. Let's get a monk. Ulford is a monk, and hire him too. So now we have roughly over 2,000 crowns left, and we can go over here to our roster. Now we can see all the fresh recruits over here. Now, these are the 3 fighters that we start with. They are usually a bit experienced and have somewhat decent equipment, and these new fighters need to be equipped. So before we go into any more of the character stats and so on, we want to get some really cheap arms and armor for those guys. So in the very beginning, spears are the best option to pick, because they give a very high to hit bonus on attacks, and your fighters will be very bad, so they need that bonus. And also, this is extremely vital, get shields, get as many shields as you can. These are the most important pieces of equipment in the beginning, because they increase the defense of your fighters and make them harder to hit. Now we can go for some really, really cheap armors over here, and we can also grab some helmets that we have to distribute to our men. We need some more weapons. These are really expensive. Clubs are very cheap in the beginning, so let's grab those. And let's go for a pitchfork. That's a 2-handed weapon that can be used from the back, so the fighter that's wielding this doesn't need any armor. Now we have to look at our new recruits. So what they're good at, we have to, and what they are bad with, and depending on their skills and abilities and traits, we will distribute the weapons. Now I have to go very quickly over this, because there is easily the opportunity to make a complete 1-hour video on all the stats and how to best equip your fighters and in what direction to develop them. So let's very quickly look at these 4 new guys. So the most important stats that you want to look out for in the beginning is the melee skill. This determines the hit chance in close combat. Range skill determines the shooting accuracy. Now we have melee defense, range defense. That's of course reducing the chance to get hit. Also fatigue is a very important stat, as it determines how long a fighter can keep using skills and moving, and all of that accumulates fatigue. And if a fighter is completely fatigued, he is disabled in battle. So that's basically the worst that can happen. And wearing heavier equipment will reduce the amount of fatigue that a character can employ. So another big point when deciding where to use your fighters are the traits. As you can see here, for example, our cultist is determined. He will always start the fight in confident morale. That makes him a good frontliner. And Balduin over here is a bleeder, so when he receives bleeding damage, this will be increased. Now this is not an ideal stat yet that you want to have on a frontliner. Now another piece of the puzzle where you want to put your guys are the talents. As you can see here, you can see these little stars over here, 2 stars here, 1 star there. And they are different for each character and they're randomized. And Tillman the cultist has 1 star on the melee, 1 skill, melee defense, and 2 stars on the fatigue. Now when you're leveling up brothers, when they gained enough experience, you can increase these stats, and the more stars you have, the higher the roll will be on the increase of the stats. So if somebody has 2 stars on fatigue, you will have a guaranteed higher roll than somebody that has no stars. But these stars increase the minimum roll. So if you roll really low and you have no stars and roll really high, you can still end up at the same amount. But in general, it is a very good indication of where to put a fighter. Somebody with melee skill star and talent, we call it talent, and the talent on fatigue is usually a very good frontline fighter. So let's quickly hand out our weapons to these guys. Let's just go like this. Now I'm not doing this optimally. I'm just doing this quickly to make sure that we get ahead in this tutorial series. We put them in the backline, the bleeding guy. Now you can go ahead, grab this and the shield, go to the front line. And the monk has a extremely low melee skill of 45, so I think we'd rather give him the spear. There you go. You can get on the, or just grab this and this, put a shield in his hand. You still need a weapon. Or maybe you can still use your cultist sack, like so. Put this on you. This on you. Now we're all set for our first fight. Now we have hired a couple of guys. Now these are not very good fighters and I think many of them will die. We equip them with the weapons and arms from the marketplace. And now what's the next thing that you do as a mercenary? You will want to look for work. Now in all the civilian settlements you will see on the top left corner available contracts. The little skulls will indicate the difficulty, and I highly recommend taking on only 1 skull contracts in the very beginning. Now, this is a civilian settlement, but there are also military settlements. For example, this is a castle where there is not a large civilian population, but a military fortification. In the beginning of the game, you will not be able to take on contracts in these military settlements, so you have to stick to the civilian ones. Let's take a look at the line of work that is offered over here. Now we have Emmerich the Counselor, and he is trying to hire us for his bidding. And it turns out that thieves have stolen his tome of arcane knowledge, and he wants us to get that back. Now we want to earn some crowns, so we accept. We have the opportunity to haggle for some more money, but if we overdo it, then he will turn down the contract and we will have to look for work somewhere else. So let's accept. There's a quick summary of the contract. Follow the tracks of the thieves and return the tome. We get 320 crowns. That is not a lot, but in the beginning, this is quite a decent amount. We accepted the contract, we leave the town, and here are the footsteps of the culprits. We're gonna follow them. Now, just a very quick break here. You can see on the world map the fog that is covering most of the area, especially in the east of the map. And now, if you don't want to take on contracts like I just did, you can venture into the unknown and you will be able to find ancient ruins and other locations where you can gain great treasures. The thing is that these treasures are usually also guarded by enemies. So the further you venture out from civilization, the harder these enemies will get. So this might be something that you want to pursue in the late game. There are also very famed and unique items to be found there. So it's always a good idea to head out and explore. Now we have caught up to the thieves. and we are about to slay them down. Now this ends the first steps tutorial on the world map, and usually in every campaign that you do, you will want to follow these steps just to get into the game and follow your approach of being a mercenary band. Now in the next video we will change over to the tactical combat, and we will have a tactical combat overview video.